The Diplomat, 16th of August 2022, China's Taiwan strategy could impact India's economy. China currently occupies India's Akshai and has killed more than 20 unarmed Indian soldiers at Galwan Valley. Before U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi went to Taiwan this month, Beijing had aggressively pushed countries worldwide to reiterate, or adopt, a pledge of allegiance to its One China policy. Since 2019, Kiribati, the Solomon Islands and Nicaragua have all switched recognition from Taipei to Beijing, primarily driven by the latter's political and economic support for their respective regimes. In the wake of Pelosi's contentious visit, that effort has only intensified. Early this month, Beijing asked India to reiterate its One China policy or face the consequences. Indian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Arindam Bagchi responded merely by saying, "India's relevant policies are well known and consistent. They do not require reiteration." India's ambivalent and taciturn stance sets it slightly apart from the US and its partners. A few days after Pelosi's visit, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken went to the Philippines to strengthen military ties with that country. While in Manila, Philippines, President Ferdinand Marcos backed Washington's assertion that Pelosi's visit to Taiwan was consistent with long-standing U.S. policy and did not shift the status quo. In New Delhi, by contrast, the Indian government was unwilling to comment in support of Pelosi's visit. Instead, it merely urged the exercise of restraint, avoidance of unilateral actions to change the status quo, de-escalation of tensions and efforts to maintain peace and stability in the region. Despite the careful talk, India has been ramping its ties with Taiwan politically and economically for years. When Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen first won elections in 2016, India's ruling Bharatiya Janata Party, BJP, sent an official to attend her inauguration. Arguably more important to New Delhi is the economic component of its engagement with Taiwan. Last year, bilateral trade between India and Taiwan was estimated to be worth over $7 billion. Taiwanese firms have also invested over $2.3 billion in India. The two countries are even discussing a free trade deal and working out ways to create a semiconductor manufacturing hub in India. Notwithstanding India's cautious and non-committal diplomacy, much of this economic cooperation is at stake as Taiwan remains on a knife's edge from the Chinese invasion. In the aftermath of Pelosi's visit, China conducted several military drills that effectively encircled Taiwan, restricted access to civilian ships, and endangered its role in trade and the global supply chain. These moves increasingly seem like a prelude to Beijing's potential future pressure tactic. Short of an outright invasion, which could pull the US into a war and bring severe costs to the mainland, Beijing may well seek to restrict and threaten Taiwan's economic ties with the outside world, thereby progressively weakening the island's position. Such a strategy would also significantly threaten India's long-term economic plans and partnership with Taiwan, and it appears likely to materialize. However, India is weaning from China, like the rest of the civilized world. As he centralizes power in Beijing and grapples with economic distress at home and abroad, China's President Xi Jinping may rely increasingly on militarism and warmongering, and has been issuing war threats to India. So far, India has been unwilling to engage with these dynamics officially, choosing instead to walk on eggshells around Beijing's sentiments while focusing on their troublesome bilateral border in the Himalayas. In New Delhi's assessment, wading into the Taiwan debate may elicit more Chinese aggression in the Himalayas. But if the Taiwan crisis boils over in the months ahead, New Delhi is unlikely to stay neutral and side with Taiwan against belligerent China. China is currently in her death throes and is like a wounded bear lashing out in a threat to the world.